Hello everybody, this is Lila in Hawaii. I'm starting to put together a fabric book, and if you know me, you know I love books. I've got a fabric book coming out in the latest Sew Somerset magazine, by the way, if you're interested in that. It's a book on Provence. Anyway, here's a book I'm putting together. The way I go about this type of book is I do the basic pages. They're not really embellished yet, but I collage those first, or sewed in a patchwork sort of style fabric. And I chose to make some of the fabrics these dark colors and some of the pages these lighter colors. So I'm just going to give you a run through. This would be the inside front from a photograph. Another page which is dark and light. And then two more pages here. Two pages there. Two more pages here. I tried to, on the dark ones, I tried to do velvets and brocades and grosgrain ribbon and things, sort of rich fabrics. And on the paler pages, I do more lace and tulle, netting and so forth. So there's a lighter page, going to be embellished later. And two more lighter pages. Another one. Some of them I've started the embellishment. I've sewn some, couched on some yarn, and there's some lace around her. And a label. I like to put words on. Sometimes I write the words, sometimes I print them off on my printer. And then the back, haven't decided what I'm going to do with it, but it's going to be like that. It's two pieces of velvet sewn together, and I'll definitely put trims and embellishments on that. And I keep it all in one of these little flat boxes that I have from something, because there I can keep, starting to get an assortment of embellishments. Haven't got very much here yet, but that will grow as I sort of gather some more, and I put that on top. That's paper towel, and that keeps it. And then I usually just keep the pages separate, like that, because I want to show you too the way I put the pages in. Kind of an easy way of doing it. It's one of the flowers I made that's going to go on one of the pages. Should go in the bottom of the box, shouldn't it? Okay, there. Another one. Another one. Getting there. Looks like a lot of pages, but there really aren't that many. And then, of course, the back. Now, the base for the pages, I really like canvas, if I can find canvas, or duck, or something like that, and I go ahead, first of all, and cut it into the sizes, or tear it into the sizes I want, and then I coffee stain it. And in this case, for the number of pages I showed you, I have two complete pieces of the canvas, and they're folded in half, and then I added one extra one, which is this one. So that's just half. But in order to stitch it, I stitched them all down the middle and left this little flap. I don't know that I'm explaining that too well. But anyway, I left that little flap there because that is quite handy. Sometimes I go ahead and I stitch it to the next page, so you really don't notice it when that's attached. You wouldn't notice it. But other times it's handy just to put tags on it. Where am I? Tags on it. More photos on it. Just stitch them on it. They could be fabric or not, or labels or whatever. In fact, the magazine Sew Somerset, where I have a book currently out, you'll see I put tags on a lot of the pages. The tags were made of fabric. Okay, so really this is only 5 pages. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But that gives me 10 sides. So in other words, 10 sides is a lot. So I had to make 10 pages to be adhered to that, back and front, and of course there are 8 for the insides, and also a back and a front cover. So this is going to be a cover, this one, and when it's finished it'll look quite pretty, I think, and then the back cover would be this velvet one. And the way I adhere them usually is once everything's done, I put 2 together and then I stitch around the edge, but you have to keep flipping back and forth. I do just one seam at a time, maybe one across there. Then I flip it to the back and make sure I haven't caught the back, say it's this, and it's on with this in between, with the canvas in between. Let me just do that. I can either glue them on, which I often do, or I can sew them, but you've got to sew them both together. So I put one on that side, one on that side, not necessarily these 2. And then I have to keep flipping back and forth, so perhaps along the bottom, and then I flip back to this side and make sure that I haven't sewn something I don't want stitched. If I do, well then I've only got one seam to pull out, and I hate to rip out, and I rarely do that. But it is a good idea to sew them that way. Often I go ahead and I glue them on, and I do like to use the pinking shears to go around the edges of the pictures in that case, and then glue it on, and it's quite substantial. So when you put the whole book together with all the pages and the back and the front cover, these are the covers, all I have to do now is to embellish the spine with something. And I've got a fat book, you can see, it's quite fat. In fact, it'll be fatter because, and that's part of the charm, it'll be much fatter because there'll be a lot of add-ons to the pages, and probably on this side I'll add some trim, some lace and frayed things and so forth. So it turns out to be a really nice book that feels really good in your hand. It's not heavy, it's just nice. And the velvet, of course, makes it feel much nicer. And if you want to know the size of the pages, that I find are quite convenient, they are, did this quite a while ago, so I don't recall what I cut, but so it's 5.5 this way, and it is 11.5. So it's 5.5 by 11.5. So there'll be 2 of those, and then the odd one which has a little bit left on it. So I hope that was something interesting and informative, because I know I get asked a lot, how do you attach the pages? And there are different ways of doing it. It can be quite a challenge. So anyway, there it is, and thanks for watching from the islands. Aloha.